Welcome everyone to Solomon's Crown. So we're here with another episode, and I'm your boy Pop. It's your boy Willie Man, and let's get it. So today, guys, we're gonna go into discuss a video that Kevin Samuels did. I believe it was recently, where it's pretty much posing the question: are men useless?
I mean, let's be honest. Let's be real. Let's just have a real conversation. When you were little girls, okay, especially when you start to bloom and develop, what are the things you were told by adults about boys?
That they horny, that they fast, cover up.
To be careful.
Yeah, be careful around the little boys that they were.
And be careful of older men because
and then what were you taught boys and men are supposed to do?
Cater to you,
Okay.
protect you. Be
So
interested.
men are either a utility or something to be feared.
Right, welcome back, guys. So that was Are Men Useless or Men Are Useless Part 5. You can check it out in the description box below. We're gonna put a link down there. So it was a pretty interesting video that Kevin Samuels posed, and it really reflects the way that women at large may see men, right? And it's a pretty interesting take that I think that a lot of women may need to be understanding of and men need to be understanding of, because I feel like in today's society the role of boys and the role of men are really downplayed. Like, you have a lot of this toxic masculinity being thrown around. Definite gender norms and gender roles are being changed and fluid and whatnot, and it just seems like the role of men in general are just we're just used as utility or protection, because it's just as Kevin Samuel says, where it's like men are either viewed as utility or something to be feared. Look at our time in the military, right? Where the first time as soon as I started, we had sapper training, right? I believe sapper is sexual assault prevention
response.
Yeah. So I'm gonna say this right now. Things like sapper is very important because in the military itself there is a lot of like wild stuff going on, and men need to understand, like, you can't be doing stuff to women and even sexual assault against men too, like, leave people alone, and no means no. And it's like, let people, having the ability to feel safe in their surroundings, and they're not, being worried like, oh, this person gonna attack me or assault me. But with that being said, it was drilled into our heads as dudes that, like, oh, you're bad, you're inherently bad, like you guys are rapists and stuff like that. So with that being said, it's just I feel like there's this negative implication on men where, because as Kevin Samuel said, it's like, what's drilled into men's heads when they grow up, like, oh, you're supposed to be a protector, you're supposed to provide, you're supposed to do all this. And with women, it's like, oh, like, what are they taught? Like, oh, be careful of boys, be careful of those fast boys, like, protect yourself, find a good man or whatever.
Somebody to protect you, essentially, somebody who
So
make you feel safe.
The point that I'm getting is this. It's like the whole argument, I guess, with a lot of manosphere people, or in the red pill space, is getting at is that women are, for the most part, are super entitled. They only see men as paychecks or as means of security. But when it really comes down to it, do women really see men more than that, as just a paycheck, as just a insurance policy? Because divorce ain't nothing now, right? Like, what's the benefit of marriage for a man? Because it's literally like an insurance claim for a woman now. She can get married, boom. If she don't like it, she gets divorced, she gets half of his stuff, she gets his kids. So it's like, what's really the benefit?
That's why a lot of dudes aren't even going for that no more, because it's like, and then it's like, women will get offended if you're like, oh, I'm trying to get a prenup, and it's just like, or like you gotta protect your assets, and it's like that's not even like a disrespectful type thing. It's just like oh, like getting a prenup to me doesn't sound like a far-fetched plan, especially in today's modern age. I mean, maybe back in the day it was just like whatever, where like people were staying together forever, like no matter what, from thick and thin. And not saying that that was great, like at all, but like the prenup wasn't. I mean, we have like what Brittany Rayner, who just ran through, stole the bag, and just dipped out with the kid and the money, and it's just like, and it's like, okay, I mean, she's teaching women how to do that, and she's not the only one. So that's the one thing is like, okay, you got all these young dudes growing up, because I talk to my boys all the time, and they're a little bit younger than me. Well, they're living in this generation. But they're living in a generation where like they're just literally like, yo, females will hit them up and be like, yo, you trying to take me out to dinner? Like, you trying to do this? You trying to do that? And it's always like, gimme, 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 gimme. So now they're just kind of like in this space where they're just like, bro, like I don't got time for that. Like I don't got time to deal with it. Not saying that they're all saints or anything like that, but like truthfully, it goes both ways, where it's like, oh, women mess with the same type of dudes and they always get hurt by the same type of dudes. These dudes go after the same type of chicks, but like truthfully, it's harder for a dude to go after a girl because like there's so many variables that you have to play with. Like, do their friends like you? Do their family like you? Do this, and that? And a dude will literally like disown his whole family for a chick, like in a heartbeat, if he thinks that she's like worth it. And I mean, not saying that some women don't do that too, where they're just like, oh no, I love him, this, and that. But like, it's far more common for like a dude to just be like, nah, bro, like he'll defend his girl and be like, nah, bro, like that's my girl, this, and that. I don't care what nobody says. Where when a female, when her homegirls are being like, oh, you shouldn't talk to him because of this, and he's this, and that. When in all reality, most of the time your homegirls are trying to get at your dude. So it's just like, I mean, we've seen the like loyalty checks on like a couple TikToks where it's just like, oh, I'm gonna have your best friend call your boyfriend and be like, yo, let's kick it. And then most of the time the girl's like, yeah, I got his number. And then they call up like, oh yeah, like I'm trying to Netflix and chill. And the dude's like, yeah, I'm back. Like, because it's just like one of those things, but not saying that either one is right. But I mean, that's becoming more common than it should be, to be honest, because like,
it's
speaking on my homeboys, like, bro, they get ghosted all the time. So it's just like one of those things where it's like, bro, like a dude will put like effort into a female and be like, yo, like, I'm really trying to talk to you. And then it's just like, no, I'm good. Like, nice guys finish last as always. So, but I mean, that's the thing too, is like, I tell my boys just like, yo, focus on yourself. Like, yo, get your bag and then like move on, bro. Like, because like that's the thing, is like all these females eventually end up coming back, because like we talked before, it's like it's just an alpha mentality. Like if you like, it's just like, okay, if you give a female too much attention, then she's just gonna be like, oh, this dude's too clingy, he's this and that. Like I don't want that. I want a dude who's gonna ignore me, do this and that. And once they become that dude, usually they get what they want, because it's just like, what did you say earlier? It's like females will make excuses for dudes that they want, but they'll make excuses for dudes they don't care about, but then they'll make all these like
they make rules for the beta.
Yeah, that's what it is. They make rules for the alpha. Yeah, they make rules for the betas and not the alphas, because the alpha, that was just like how like he said it. He was talking about it where he was just like, oh, she'll be like, oh, I want to do that, but maybe not with you. And then as soon as some dude comes in and is like, yo, let me take you out to Red Lobster and get you some cheddar baked biscuits and stuff, it's just like, oh my goodness, like, yo, you trying to have sex in the back of the car? Like, bro, it's a game. Like, so I don't know. I mean, that's one aspect of like what he was talking about. But the bigger aspect is just like, I feel like with the way that the female empowerment is going, it's not beneficial to like society, because it's like the female empowerment is going towards, you don't need men at all. Like you don't need men to build houses, you don't need men to take care of you, you don't need men to do this and that. But then it's like, okay, if we get rid of these these roles as in like, okay, everybody's equal, everything like that, then where do we go from there? Because men have always kind of done things like this, like building infrastructure, raising like societies and things like that. And like, I mean, women have been always by their side. And in the past, I mean, it was never really a problem. It was just like, okay, this guy is like if you're married to the king of whatever country, it's just like, you know, you're taken care of, you know, that your children are taken care of. And as long as your husband or your the provider is like a kind-hearted person, usually his people love him and your kingdom flourishes and grows and things like that. Now there's always going to be somebody who will come in there and take it. But that's another aspect, is like, okay, can this man protect me from who's ever going to be the invader, or who's ever going to come and try to harm my children or harm my family? And history has shown like most of those dudes can provide for their families and protect their people, and not only their family, but like their villages and everything that comes with that. So, but I don't, that's just me ranting. What do you have to say?
So it's just in general, the whole, like, you know, I don't need a man stuff, because we've been hearing this thing since we were like kids, like since the 90s, like, you know, I don't want no scrubs by TLC and all these other songs or whatever that push in like female empowerment. And I think that you know, in general, from my point of view, that women have come a long way to not having to open up bank accounts up until the 70s and all this stuff. And they have a lot more independence, because women have done a lot in society, has done a lot. But with that being said, men for the longest have been the ones that have built a lot of the infrastructure, pushed a lot of the technology, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And as again, the question that Kevin posed is like, outside of women, outside of sex, what do you think that men are, right? And these women couldn't answer, because these women were saying stuff like mediocre stuff, like, oh, men are football, like men are leaders,
men are good.
Men are this, and it's
men
like,
build walls. I think one chick said, and I was
we're way more than that, you know. That's why the men's suicide rate is high. Like, there's so many TikToks. There's one like TikTok where it's like legit men saying that, yo, like, no one cares about us. It's like when we're having issues and we tell someone, we get laughed at, we get told to man up, yada yada yada. So a lot of times we keep it in ourselves. Look how many times, even in our time in the Air Force, I mean, you're still in, but it's like, you know, so many dudes commit, you know, they, you know, off themselves because the pressure is too much and they can't talk about it. Like, damn near, even when I was in the Air Force and I, you know, had to go talk to, I went to mental health, because like the stress of being in maintenance was a lot. And I was just like saying like, hey, what could some of the stuff that I could do to, like, you know, to cope and everything. And I pretty much got told to man up.
There's nothing that you can do, because you think about it, like if a man's at his breaking point, like, and he's like literally got nobody there, he's just gonna break, bro. And that's what most of the time leads to suicide. But if a woman's at a breaking point, she can hit up some random dude and he'll be like, yo, it's okay, I'll take you in, like, sleep on my couch for this long, this and that. But it's like, as a man, you're always told, like, you have to defend for yourself, you have to take care of your family, you have to keep pushing. But then at the end of the day, like, nobody's there for you. So I think that's the biggest thing, is like you said, I mean, we said it before, like, the only people that are loved unconditionally is women, children, and animals, probably dogs, because I don't like cats. But I mean, that's the thing. I mean, even at that point, we're getting to a point in society where people aren't even caring about that, like, because like everything is being pushed into like, your opinion's right, your opinion's wrong. Everybody has to be right. Nobody's wrong, and it's just like somebody has to be wrong at some point. And it's like, okay, so like if we want equal rights for women and men, like what does that mean? Does that mean like, okay, like we start hiring women for jobs that they can't do? We start hiring dudes to become strippers? Like, what are we doing? Like, because the thing is like, okay, no, go ahead.
But it's like the weird thing is, and this is, and shout out to Jordan B. Peterson. Like this, that dude is just, he's just intelligent. Like one of the most intelligent dudes that I've seen in recent years. But um he pretty much posed this, I guess, situation that's happening in the Scandinavian countries because they're the most egalitarian, meaning that they're the most, I guess, social or fair countries
Mm.
when you compare them to other countries, right? So it's like with this whole notion of like, um, female empowerment, feminism, where all things are equal, is like the more equal things are, the more separated the jobs are. So it's like you have men and women who have equal opportunity to like a man to be a nurse, or a man to be a babysitter, or a woman to be a oil rigger, or a woman to be a soldier. It's like women still tend to go towards the traditional feminine jobs, and males still tend to go to the traditional masculine jobs. And it's like if you ask females more often than not, like, yo, would you do oil rigging, would you do plumbing? It's like, how many women you seen doing that? Not a lot. Even in maintenance, where we were coming from, you don't see a lot of women doing that, and usually a lot of those women have super masculine traits with them. The women that were in maintenance,
The ones
right?
that, I mean, there's only a couple that weren't, but that's like 3 in my entire career. But like
And
most of the
them,
other times, like the other chicks, they
Mhm.
could definitely lift a torque wrench, like
yeah,
hold a
and it's like
tire up, all types of stuff.
and most of the women that actually get in that are quote unquote traditional feminine, they just do their 4 years and get out, or get married and
Or they just
have a
don't
kid,
do
and
the
they're like,
job.
get
And
out.
it's just like,
Yeah.
so that's the thing that we got to look at too, is like, okay, you want to bring women into like mostly man-based career fields, but like, think about it, like in maintenance, there is no like, yo, I'm tired for the most part. It's just like, yo,
No.
like, we got to put this tire up. Like, I don't care if you're tired. Like, it's just one of those things where you have to push past your limits at times, because you don't have the luxury to just be like, yo, I'm tired, somebody else can do it. Like, if we got to do 4 tire changes because the plane's got to go up, like we got to do 4 tire changes. It's not like, oh, well, I'm tired now, I did 1. And then like, that's how it usually went for the most part, because it's like, you either get out of the way or you get the work done. Like, because that's another thing too, is like, now we have to compensate for whatever mans are going into. Like, if a man goes into a nursing job and he's too aggressive, he's too straightforward, he's not caring enough, he's not nurturing enough, things like that, then that might be looked down upon, and like people will take that the wrong way. Same thing goes for a woman. If she can't lift 60, 70 pounds continuously for 8 to 9 hours, then somebody else has to pick up the slack. So it's like, I get having equal rights and equal opportunities and everything like that, but we can't downplay what each other brings to the table when it comes to like roles. And I think that's the biggest thing with the manosphere, is just like, okay, like, I get it. Like, it's just so hard, bro, because it's just like, it's like, what is this leading to? That's the thing. It's just like, okay, what is all this equal rights, equal opportunity? Like, what is it leading to? If it's still going to be the same thing, I mean, yeah, talking about like women getting paid the same as men for the same jobs and things like that, like, I'm all for that, things like that. But it's like, if that's the case, I mean, there are like a lot more females are working out now. So, I mean, a lot of them can do a lot of these jobs. So like, if that's what it's going to be, then that's what it's going to be. But then like, we'll just have to see what happens. I mean, it doesn't look good, because I think that creating this new space is kind of putting everybody in a like confused state, as it would say, because nobody knows what they should do. Nobody knows what they want to do. Men are tired of women. Women are tired of men. And it's just like one of those things where it's like, okay, like, after everybody's tired of each other, we still got jobs that need to get done. So I just think it's a lot of bickering and arguing over things that just aren't necessarily important. So we got way bigger problems to worry about, like potentially going to Mars, maybe colonizing Mars, but like, that's not even global warming, like potentially like world wars. Like, that's the things that we need to be worried about, and it's like those aren't the things that we're worried about. And I think that's the biggest problem with all this like pushing agendas and stuff like that.
And my closing remarks is just on one, you know, in spite of this, or I just want women in general maybe to think about like, hey, you know, maybe men are just more than utility and you know, a security blanket, and you know, vice versa with men. You know, women are more than just like, you know, sexual objects and, you know, things you can push around, because I think that's what the feminist movement was trying to like overcome, because to be honest, for a while that's what women were seen as, you know, sexual objects and you know, babysitters,
But
glorified
that's the thing
babysitters
is
in a
like
lot
that's
of
a
ways.
small group of men who think that. Yeah. So
It's a small group, but I'm
but that's
just
the thing
saying
is like
that
these highly man dominated. So I think that some of the women were coming into these highly dominated like by men career fields and be like, hey, I'm not being treated like an equal, but it's like low key, like that's how men are treated. Like so it's just like one of those things where it's like if you want to be in the space, but then it's so much more than that, because it's like, well, men shouldn't be treated like that and women shouldn't be treated like that. And that's what I think it initially started as, like nobody should be treated like they're below anybody else. But then somewhere in between it became like men versus women, and now everybody doesn't know what's going on. So
yeah, so it's I think that's what the, you know, manosphere is trying to correct. It's like, yo, yeah, we know that women are valuable members of society and they can do a lot of things that men can do, but we're also human beings as well, and there's not a lot of emphasis on that.
yeah.
But with that, guys, I gotta head out, you know, do my day job. But I hope you guys learn from this, or you know, just let us know what you think in the comments down below. And with that being said, guys, I'm your boy Pop.
Boy, what a man. Until next time.
Peace
Peace.
out.